Namaste, and thank you very much to J&K Tourism Department for inviting me here. This is my very first time in Kashmir, and I'm just been so excited that I've been able to come. I am an architect by training, but my life has taken a course that I could not imagine. So I've done a little bit of everything, and like Arijit was saying, I'm always looking at the connection between things. So today I came here to share with you my path and my journey and the things that we've done for the past 10 years. I don't have much clarity as to how it would be relevant to Kashmir, but I think we definitely have a lot to share, so I hope it would be of much use to you also. So the main thing I'm going to talk to you about is the last 10 years of work that I have done in a social enterprise that I set up called Coexist. And after doing architecture, I actually went on to study environmental science for a year and started working on several environmental campaigns. And then being more creative at heart, I wanted to be part of the solution. But I also wanted to work very much with people like myself and look at our relationship with nature in an urban environment in our everyday life in the products that we use. So the work of Coexist has been looking at environment and community and creating prosperity and a sense of abundance in the places that we live with the people that we live. Next. So we started in 2006. It was first started as a social enterprise to give help to farmers for marketing their products. But then it expanded and it took on many other activities also. We have 4 main campaigns that we work on. 2 of them are related to festivals, and the other 2 are related with waste. Next. So these are the 3 areas that we are working in: environment, community, and prosperity or livelihoods and wealth generation. And since we're talking here and we want to start a discussion on reimagining Kashmir, what I wanted to share is that many a times we have to start by reimagining many of the things that we have been conditioned to believe. So in the case of environment, our work has been around reimagining materials themselves, reimagining all the waste that we generate and the use of that waste. So in the case of Holi, we've been looking at the toxicity of chemical colors. In the Ganesh Chaturthi festival, it's the chemical materials like the plaster of Paris and the chemical paints that were a problem. In the case of cloth bag campaign, it was the plastic bag issue that was a problem. And in the recycling campaign, we're looking at waste materials and how they can be upcycled to make consumer products. Next. All our work is very much community oriented. We are always going out into communities that need help. And we have worked with a whole range of people. We have worked with prisoners, with mentally and physically challenged people, with farmers, with women's self-help groups. We work with rag pickers and traditional artisans. Most of these people are somehow underprivileged and are not able to cope with all the changes in modern society. So in our work, with all the products that we create, we don't have a factory for anything. We go out of our way to look for these people and design the products in a way that they can make them and that they can earn from them. Next. And then also, we are not an NGO. We were very clear about that, and we wanted to address and engage with the commercial markets. So our products are sold. We're a company, and we are also looking at sensitizing the whole supply chain. So we bring this environmental awareness into all the networks that we work with. We are also now rethinking the whole cash economy. So because we feel that it's limited in the way when you're only thinking of prosperity and abundance in terms of cash. So we're also questioning some of that now. Next. So the first 2 campaigns are around festivals. I have been asking our hosts here about the festivals in Kashmir and how you celebrate. All of our work is very much aimed at allowing people to be joyful and to be together and, create this community feeling of togetherness and joy. But through that, then we use those festivals and coming together to really help them to question some of the things that we are doing that have an impact on the environment. So the first festival, one of my favorite festivals, is the festival of Holi. Next. Where we found that people had stopped playing Holi because all of the colors that were being used were chemical colors, and people were worried for their health and their skin and their children. So we started, all the products I'm going to show you are very simple products because partly we also feel that everyone should be able to make and earn from these products. So we start always by educating people about the problem, teaching them how they can be part of the solution themselves. Next. And the colors that we use are all vegetable colors. They come from the kitchen, very easy to make at home, and we actually teach children how to make the colors. Next. But they also then become a source of livelihood for farmers. These are photographs from a group called Vanasri in Karnataka. We worked with them for 8 years, and we helped them to set up their own company actually, and then they ended up marketing the colors after 8 years. Next. But then apart from the farmers who made the colors, we also started realizing there were other aspects to the work, and in that we involved so many different people. So we have a huge prison in Pune, where I am from, and we worked for 5 years with the prisoners, and all the packaging of the color was done in the prison. Next. Anyone who came to us and said, please can you help us come up with some income generation activity. Since our work was very simple, it did not require too much skill. So this unskilled or semi-skilled work was very easy to take to various groups. We worked with wives of army jawans who've lost their limbs. We worked with different self-help groups. Next. Also, we feel that festivals are occasions where society can really come together. So we go out and celebrate because normally people are always celebrating within themselves, whether it's within their own religious community or within their own economic kind of class. So we started celebrating Holi with everybody. We have several Holi parties that we have every year. So this also becomes an occasion to really bring communities together in a very joyful way. Next. At the same time, we're not an NGO. We were creating a product, and this product had to survive in the market. So since it was a new product, people didn't know the whole issue with the toxicity of chemicals. So starting with it, educating them about it. We also then, over 10 years, developed the product, looked at what kind of tests it should have, how it should be packaged, what should the costing of that be, and survived in a very mainstream market. So we saw that slowly as the awareness rose, the niche, I mean the market for this started to expand, and therefore more and more people could join the whole campaign. Next. And this is our poster for this year. It has now become a completely mainstream product. It is sold on Amazon, and we're very comfortable in the way the mainstream functions, alongside also trying to question it and look at other ways of doing it. This image, if you go back, that image that's in the prison. So it was, in the 5 years that we worked in the prison, it was a very beautiful experience where actually work is something that really brings very diverse people together, because the work is the focus, and it's not about you or me, but what we are trying to do together. So we found that was a very beautiful experience for us also. Next. The second campaign that we took on was Ganesh Chaturthi. If some of you are familiar, this is a Hindu festival where these little idols of Ganesha are made, and traditionally they were done completely with natural materials. And the big problem is that at the end of the festival, these idols are put into water. So they are put into the river, or they are put into the sea, or into water bodies, and they create a lot of pollution now, because nowadays these idols are made out of materials like plaster of Paris and chemical paint. So here the whole opportunity was to use, and it's a religious festival and people have certain religious beliefs. So we were working within that framework, and we were helping people to ask and also question, to see that impact that was happening on nature because of that ritual, and to understand that it's not that the ritual itself is a problem, but that the material has changed. What was earlier natural clay or earth is now a chemical material, and that is what is really creating the problem. Next. So these are some of the kind of discussions we had. We also involved some of the religious heads and had them come and speak to the people, because it was a matter of faith. So it's not something that you can question so easily. You have to be very sensitive and kind of gradual in bringing about that change. We did a lot of work with schools around the same issue. And this is similarly, we would have events and discussions and talks by various people, so that, and we ourselves actually slowly we started to involve more and more artisans. So many of the artisans who had that original knowledge of how to work with clay, they were not able to sustain it because clay is a very fragile material. So when they saw that we were willing to give them this marketing support, they started coming to us and saying, "आप हमारे लिए भी कर लीजिए, हम भी आपके साथ काम करना चाहते हैं." तो उस तरह से वो जो पुराना जो वो रिवाज था, the tradition was able to come back. Next. Here again, that was some mentally challenged children that we taught. So every time, each campaign is very inclusive, and it involves so many different groups in it. Next. This was going back to the artisans and the ones who had already shifted to plaster of Paris and chemical paint, to convince them that at some point the problem would become so big that the government would have to ban that, and so that they better develop another alternative, otherwise they would be out of work. So then we started working directly with the artisans and saying that we would provide them the market for a more natural kind of product. Next. So now, after 10 years, we have pretty much mainstreamed this also. Funnily, what is happening now is that our idols have become so recognized as being completely biodegradable that many of the people who are working with plaster of Paris and chemical paints have started using the same combination of colors while they use their chemical materials to kind of fool people into thinking that their idols are. But that's just to say that, you know, we were able to raise enough awareness and bring that, create that market for this kind of product. Next. So again, during the festival, since the ritual involved immersion of the idols into the rivers and the lakes, we also used that as an opportunity to go out there and talk to people about the importance of protecting those water bodies. Next. At the end of the festival, along with the idol, people also put all the materials that they use for worship into the river. So we don't have, in fact, our river in Pune doesn't have much of a baseline flow. So in fact, during the festival, it's quite shocking to see how much pollution is created by this activity. So we mapped out the river, and on each of the spots where the immersion activity happened, we started going there, we started taking volunteers and talking to people. Next. These are some of the ghats where the spots where the immersion happens. Next. And then the government has now, they have come up with an alternative solution for this, where instead of putting the idol in the water, people have started using these tanks which are built alongside. Next. Also waste. So waste is an issue everywhere, but in the city of Pune, over the last 10 years, many things have been done around waste. And in the case of Ganesh Chaturthi, as I said, a lot of the religious waste, so there would be coconuts and flowers and, you know, other offerings, mithai boxes, all this would end up also in the river. So we started a campaign where we started to help people to segregate the waste right at the ghat, where they would bring all this material. So we were working with a local rag pickers organization called Swachh, and the segregation started happening during the festival at the ghat itself. Next. These are volunteers, so I mean, all this was mobilized and all this discussion started happening. Next. And then what we also did is we collected all the flowers, and we're not the only people who do this. There are many people in Delhi and other places who are collecting flowers that are thrown away in the temples and converting that into compost. But what we also did, since we already had the natural holy color campaign going, we also tried to take all this flour and convert it into natural holy color. Next. So this is how we started to make color powder, and these are some of the schools. This project went to several different organizations. Next. Next. As well as the Yeravda prison. So for them, this was a really beautiful experience, because after the Ganesh festival, we would bring tons and tons of flowers, and the whole jail workshop would just be filled with color and flowers. So it always brought them a lot of joy to be part of that process. Plus, alongside the colors, we also continued to make compost out of the offerings. The third campaign is to do with plastic bags. When I came here yesterday, I started looking around for plastic bags, and I was told that although 4 years ago there was a ban, it has not been fully implemented. So this plastic bag issue is a problem in many cities, but the government is now recognizing this, and slowly things are coming about. Our campaign started in 2010, so we've been running this for 6 years. Our intention here is to really stop all kind of single-use items. So whether they are the plastic spoons that we ate lunch with, or whether it's even newspaper bags or anything that basically you're going to use for one time and you throw it away, that we feel has to be completely stopped. And what has to be brought in its place is an idea of a habit of reuse. So our campaign here is called Use Me Again. And initially, everybody was getting free plastic bags, so nobody wanted to pay for a bag. So everyone wanted very cheap bags, whereas what we realized is to make good cloth bags that can last them for at least 3 to 5 years. So next. So this is just to show you how we started the campaign next. And we looked at several alternatives before we came to the point of just using cloth. Next. Again, doing campaigns with the public, talking to shopkeepers, going to schools, involving school children. Next. And then finally, we came down to cloth bags. Some of you may have received some of the cloth bags that you've received are from us in Pune. And again, this becomes an income generation opportunity. Many women in Pune already have sewing machines at home, and they have a basic level of stitching. So we have been now working with several different groups. We're also now getting other cooperatives from other cities to start working with us. Next. These are the bags. Next. And the last campaign is to do with waste. This is called the beauty of recycling. So here we wanted people to see how waste can not only be financially useful, but also aesthetically beautiful. So we run a campaign called the beauty of recycling. For the past 5 years, next, we have been organizing events. And these events are just awareness-raising events where we use all kinds of popular media, especially for the youth to get interested in this. Next. This was in 2015. We had a 7-day, it's like a big event. And you have, next, you have all kinds of things. So you have art and product design, music, theater, puppetry, and fashion shows. So a lot of the youth get very excited about all the fun and entertainment in this kind of event. But in the process, we also do some very serious market surveys and kind of gauge what is the level of awareness around this work. When we first started this 5 years ago, we were able to locate only about 6 designers in the country who were actually making products out of waste and selling them. And in 2015, we found 28 designers. So definitely things are actually progressing. Next. Next. So many of the waste materials, you will probably have similar issues over here. Plastic carry bags, Tetra Pak, audio cassettes, video cassettes, e-waste, kitchen waste is fine, but rubber tires, flex banners, many of the flex posters that you use, what do you do after it, after the event is over? Next. So regarding the products, I'd like to say that we brought you a few samples. So when you go outside, you can also see some of the samples of what is being done. These are the kind of events that we had. So, it generates a lot of awareness. These are large, very large art installations that were done just completely using waste. Next. We did workshops with children. Next. Music. This is a drumming group that does drum circles with waste materials. Next. Street theater, this is another great way of raising awareness. Next. Puppet shows, next. And children's plays, next. Fashion also, next. So with the products, what we've, last year, we finally took on our own kind of experiment where we received a grant from the government of Maharashtra. Next. So these are some of the products that you can see. These are bags that are made out of waste, old tires, or all the bags up on top are made out of flex banners. So now more and more people are coming up with such consumer products. Next. So what we did is in our 1-year study project, we took up 3 materials which are completely non-biodegradable and have no resale value. So nobody is interested in them. And yesterday when I visited the landfill site here, I saw all these materials there also. So you have your thin plastic bags, you have aluminum foil waste, you have thermocol also. Nobody in the country knows what to do with these things. So now in Pune, more and more people are experimenting. In the case of, these are aluminum foil packets. Now in our experiment, we also learned things the hard way. We made a lot of mistakes, but slowly we are beginning to see some light of day. There's a sample of this outside. You can see what we actually did is we created a new type of fabric which uses the shiny part of the aluminum foil inside 2 layers of fabric, and then that new fabric can be used to make other things like purses or shoes or whatever. Next. In the case of thermocol, we decided to use its insulative properties. The idea was that if we can make products that are so simple that even the poorest of the poor, without very little investment, somebody can just pick this material off the street and actually make this product at home, it will give them an incentive to start collecting that material. So instead of it just getting dumped, if we could give it some kind of economic value, then people will actually, collect it. So this was thermocol, and the next one was thin plastic bags. I can share with you later what the challenges were, because it was a very difficult project for us to do. Next. And so I think that brings me to the end, but I just wanted to share that, part of reimagining our external world is also to reimagine ourselves and our own identity. And in a way, in the work that we have tried to do, we're always trying to help people, children, to focus on the good qualities and the joy and the inspiration within them. And that's, for me, is a big part of reimagining our entire world. Thank you very much. Thanks.